All right, so we got a new drone here from GEPRC. They're calling it the Vapor, and there's the X5 and there's the X6, so 5-inch and 6-inch. These are basically a response to iFlight's Nazgul Eco series, and pricing is pretty much the same or pretty similar, very close. So, for example, here's the 5-inch 03 version with the Express LRS receiver. Is coming in at $407 from GEPRC. And if you go over to iFlight site, it's $408 for basically the same specs. Now, I will talk about the spec differences between the two. They're pretty close, so obviously that's why they're priced pretty close. Obviously the iFlight offers two different frame options, where like dead cat style versus like a squished X style or true X style frame. So you have those two options. You get also DJ03, and you have an analog, and you also have that as well. From the GEPRC side, they have a 5-inch Vapor ELRS for $237, and then the sort of the equivalent from iFlight is $236. So again, pricing is very, very similar, and these are 6S setups because the motors on these, go down to the specs there, I think the GEPRC is going to be this 227E, I'm assuming is economical or cheaper, 1960 kV. So I think it's a little bit higher than what the is on the iFlight. I think it's like 1800 if I remember right. Yeah, 2207, 1800 kV. So you get a little bit more kV on the GEPRC. The iFlight comes with a 55 amp 4-in-1 ESC. I think the GEPRC, they're trying to outdo iFlight here. They put in a 60 amp 4-in-1 ESC. So slightly more aggressive specs on the GEPRC. Basically then, kind of looking at the frame differences. It's a 5-inch kind of pretty standard frame out there. You have these countersunk screws here. Nice, but they don't really need it because they have a nice big battery pad. I'm not so sure about this space here. They obviously, you see like the metal front end here. These will get scratched up in a crash, of course, but they have gone to this, like, instead of having this extend down in here in this part of the plate, so it's all metal, they've sort of gotten rid of this to save weight. I'd probably okay, but if you hit the rock or something straight on in the front part here, this part of the bottom plate is probably going to get cracked because there's no standoff here. So usually they would put a standoff here with this much space. They're trying to move it forward here so that not as much of the props are going to be showing in the camera view. That's the only thing I see that's kind of flawed in this frame. You got a single top lip going all the way across here. You got the sandwich plate for the arms. And let's see, let's look at some other photos here from different angles. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing really spectacularly different about this frame. It's a 5-inch frame. A lot of them are built this way, designed the same way. They got the same motor wire covers that I don't like. Those will break and then cause problems later. It's better to use like tape or something. But anyway, what else we got here? Oh, top view, yeah, squished X frame, kind of standard. Yeah, there's I think that the Mark V is a little bit more expensive, and so they came out with this model so that it's a little bit cheaper to compete with the Eco from iFlight, which basically was doing really well. I mean, people were buying lots of those, so obviously they had to respond, and they came out with models with slightly better specs, ESC and motor, and same price. So that's kind of where they're trying to sort of capture some of that market share. But will it fly a lot better than the iFlight? Probably not. Of course, I'm not going to get this review because GEPRC has ghosted me. They've banned me, so I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to be able to fly it, but I can tell you that it's not going to fly that much different from the Eco. And if you have a 5-inch already and are happy with it, do you really need to get this? probably not. If you don't have a 5-inch, you're thinking about getting a 5-inch, then it's kind of like a toss-up between the two, between the GEPRC and the iFlight. Pretty similar in price, similar in spec. They're probably going to fly pretty much the same. So it really kind of depends on which company you want to go with in terms of like after-sales support. In my opinion, iFlight has a little bit better after-sales support than GEPRC. That's just my opinion. You can ask around or ask around the community, ask other people what their opinion is on that. You know, if you're getting basically the same product for the same price, well, who's going to support you better? You know, after you've bought the quad, you need spare parts or something like that, some sort of support later on down the road in case you crash it and break it. You know, which one's going to be better for you? In my opinion, I think it's going to be iFlight. But you know, of course, all the review channels out there that are going to get this, of course, they're going to say this is going to be the drone of the year, you know, best ever. You're going to hear the typical stuff because that's why they get the stuff from GEPRC. GEPRC sends this out for marketing purposes, and they want channels to tell everyone that they have to buy this particular model because it's better than everything else. And in my opinion, it's not. It's pretty much the same as the iFlight. It's not going to fly that much different. There's minor differences here and there. You know, whether or not those things are important to you is you're going to have to kind of figure that out on your own. But if you have questions about, you know, a specific feature or spec that you're interested in that might be different for you, tell me your scenario, like what you think in terms of your priorities, and then maybe I can sort of guide you there. So, you know, give me some details. If you just ask me which one's better, then I've already talked about this. So you're not going to get an answer because obviously you haven't watched the video. You're not going to get an answer to that because I've been talking about it for 5 minutes here. Yeah, that's all I got to say, really. The other thing that I think the GEPRC has an advantage over the iFlight is the iFlight doesn't have a 6-inch eco, this as far as I know. I might be wrong about that, but they've come out with a 6-inch version of this one. It's just the same frame with longer arms. You know, let me just for the sake of make sure that we cover all our bases. I'm pretty sure it's going to come with a little bit bigger motor because it is a 6-inch prop. So let's look at the X6 HD03. Just come in a Wasp and, you know, which means Vista and analog. So let's see here. How much is that going to be for the ELRS? 416, and the 5-inch was, I forgot the price already. It's $10 more. So not bad for a 6-inch. So if you specifically want a 6-inch, then yeah, of course, then this is probably your only option out there. And what do we got here for a motor? Yeah, it's a 2407 motor, 1750 kV. So that's pretty standard. Can't complain about that. Same 60 amp AC. Yeah, 60 amps is probably overkill for even a 6-inch, but you know, the more the merrier, the more the better anyway. It does have an F722 flight controller, and the NASCO is using, I think the AT435, the new, these newer economical flight controllers. So in that case, it kind of depends on which you think is better. The AT series it's using, you know, as long as you're on Betaflight 4 or 5 or better, you're fine, you're covered, you're supported. It is a little bit better in terms of processing speed than the F722, but then if you prefer the F7 flight controller, then, you know, then obviously you probably want to go with the GEPRC. Anyway, I think I've covered all the bases here. Yeah, I mean, GEPRC makes good stuff. You know, I've reviewed a lot of stuff in the past. They don't cut a lot of corners. You know, they do pay attention to details. It's going to be a good quad. I'm sure it'll fly very well. I would be surprised if there was any fatal flaws. Obviously, someone's going to review it and probably find it if they crashed a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to have that opportunity. But, you know, if you're kind of like, well, I don't know which one to get, the GEPRC or the iFlight, they're pretty much the same if you're looking at the 5-inch. Not much difference there. Of course, everyone else out there that's going to review this is going to, you know, whenever they get to something new from GEPRC, they're always going to call it the drone of the year. They have to buy it right away. You know, it's urgent. You have to have it. It's a must buy. In my opinion, it's not. So don't listen to that kind of hype. It isn't all that. I don't think it's going to be all that. If there's something really special out there in this particular model that I missed, let me know in the comments below. You know, is there something that I missed that's wildly different that's going to make this, you know, it flies 10 times faster. It's got 10 times the power. Really? How? Let me know in the comments if you feel that that's true or not. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. Talk to you guys later.